Welcome back to Music Talk, everybody. I'm Dave.
I'm Mike. Believe it or not.
Believe it or not. I appreciate everybody's support lately. We've been kind of, I've been busy as crap lately, man. So we haven't had time to get together. We've got CDs, but we just haven't seemed to be able to get the time. So you guys know how it is. So anyway, this week we're going to check out Gov't Mule's latest, and it's called Peace Like a River. Funny, on the front, you don't see peace, though, right? I guess you're supposed to just feel the peace, maybe?
Yep.
On the side, you get peace like a river when you look at it on the side. But nowhere on the record does it say peace like a river or anywhere else other than that. But the album kind of does have a peace thing going on, kind of a theme. This would be a river, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
The clouds are really blurry on here, too. It's not the camera. They're just kind of distant back there. And then you got the back of the record with the tracks and the paddle wheel on there. Yep. The CD looks like this, the little paddle wheel. And the front of the booklet has the same paddle wheel. So if you're a Gov't Mule fan, this is a new tattoo for you, right? And you got a bridge in the back with some clouds and trees.
And just put that tattoo right in the middle of the forehead,
Yep. Yeah, I don't know if you'd want to do that one, man. Yeah, not a good placement. And then here's your piece, right? Here's where you get your piece like a river, right?
That's right.
So and all the words, you know what I like about it? Guess what? They're all in white and they're on black because I can read this. Warren knows, man.
That's what I was going to say. That's the only way Warren could read them.
Right. So that's what we dig about people like Warren, man, because, if he can't read it.
Love you, Warren.
Yeah, man, right? And then here's your band, bass player, pointing it at you saying, look, man, this is how you're supposed to line your bridge and your neck, your truss rod, just keep on until you get that action right where you want.
Yep.
Anyway, here's the rest of it. Got all the lyrics. There's some ducks for you on the river.
Yep.
And a couple of, Lego people maybe sitting there chilling. And then, he's probably going to propose to her there or something. I don't know. Anyways. So pretty cool cover. I mean, it's interesting. It kind of reminds me of those old animation when they used to use clay. That's kind of what it reminds me of, like one of them old, back when like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer came out and all that stuff.
Yep.
But pretty decent record, man. You got Warren Haynes, of course. And I don't know how you pronounce the drummer's name, do you? Is it Ats or Abs?
Apps. That's what I think it is. Yeah, APTS.
Is it a P or a B? I thought it was a B.
It might be. Yeah, it might be a B, but abs.
It kind of rolls in there. But he's been with them since Gov't Mule started. Also,
right? It was at 95, I believe, when they started.
94, 95. Yeah.
He's been there, and the original bass player passed away. I forget his name now, but.
His name was Alan Woody, and he was also part of the Allman Brothers,
right.
Warren.
He and Warren Haynes. Yeah.
I believe Matt played drums for a little while with him. I think
he might have, but what I read on the biography, it was only Warren Haynes and Woody.
Yeah.
And they met Abs and decided to trail off and do Gov't Mule on the side. Now, he might have played drums for him, and I wouldn't doubt it. Because I think JMO had some health issues here and there.
Yeah. And it probably wasn't a long time. It might have just been a short stint.
Yeah, kind of a fill in here and there. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you got on keys, Danny, I'm thinking Lewis is his name.
Right. And then he's a permanent member too now. I mean, they were originally a three-piece. They were originally a three-piece band.
Yeah.
A power trio. And
yeah.
I'm gonna dig back and pull up some of their trio stuff because I love
trios. Man. Also, Danny is credited for playing like trumpet, trombone, and other brass instruments. So he's in there doing the brass too. Some of it.
Well, they had some horns on this thing. Yeah.
Yeah. There's they actually have a lot of people on here that filled in too. A lot of horn players and stuff, especially on that one with the Dumpster Funk guy. Then Jorgen Carlson, the bass player, has been with him since 2008. So I've been in the Gov't Mule for a long time, and I remember when Alan Woody passed, they did the Deepest End albums live, right? where they had all these different bass players come on stage.
Right.
And to me, that was pretty awesome because you had Gov't Mule with 20 of some of the greatest bass players out there playing, you know.
Yeah.
And that was a fantastic live record. If
Yeah.
anybody ever wants to go check that, you need to go check that DVD and everything. I think it's called The Deepest End Live, I think.
Mhm.
And that's when I kind of really started getting into Gov't Mule. And then, of course, playing in a power trio blues band that I played in, we played a lot of Warren Haynes and Gov't Mule and, you know, Joe Bonamassa and stuff. But a lot of our stuff hinged on Warren Haynes music because, you know, we used to do Bad Little Doggy and, you know, Soul Shine and all that stuff, man. I mean, we were, you know, and he has a version of Breaking Up Somebody's Home that we used to do and, you know, stuff like that. But I'm a big Warren Haynes fan. I love Warren Haynes, you know, live,
I do too.
especially, you know.
I do too.
So
I like him best in this, and I really like him with the Allman Brothers. The Tedeschi Trucks thing he did here and there, you know, I'm not really a big fan of Tedeschi Trucks. I don't know. I think it's just personal preference. It just doesn't seem to really ride that ridge with me, you know.
yeah.
I don't know, you know.
Well, I saw the Allman Brothers with Warren Haynes, and I'm pretty sure it was Derek Trucks also.
Right.
I never
right.
got to see him with Dickie or you know, but I mean, they were great, but I preferred what Warren's doing on his own with Gov't Mule. I just think he just rips it, man. You know,
Well,
he's
introducing new stuff. I mean, it's jam band, blues, and R&B, but it's done with a twist that's fresh.
Yep, that's true. And he can play any style, man. I mean,
Right.
Warren is one of those guys, and he'll always be in my top 10 all-time guitar players for sure. Because he can play anything, man. Anything.
Yeah.
He can play jazz, blues, rock. In fact, I think he had a jazz thing going for a while, and he did some stuff with John Scofield, you know.
Mhm.
So I think there's a song actually called Gov't Mule, I believe. You know?
Right.
So yeah, so anything more, he can play anything, man. He's just that kind of guy, you know. And he's one of those dudes where you watch him and you're like, you know, dang, man, you know. It's like I just wish I could do part of that, you know. And that's another thing too about Matt, the drummer. If you ever watch him, it's like he's effortlessly playing, man. Like he barely touches the drums. And
well, that's the whole thing. He's letting the drums do the talking. He's not forcing it. And that's the whole thing. That's where the beauty is. And that's how you play an instrument. You don't make the instrument talk. You let the instrument talk, and all you do is guide it.
Yeah.
And I love it. The sounds that he was getting on this recording was like, oh my God.
Watch him play live, it's just like, man, how is he doing that with such a light touch? It's amazing to me because it really looks like he's barely touching them drums at all.
Right.
It's crazy.
Well, the one thing he's doing is he's playing the pocket and he's not being flashy.
Yeah.
He's doing what needs to be done and complements the music.
That's right.
You're not sitting there trying to figure out, oh, well, how did he start that double bass lick with his left foot or with his right foot? Or did he do it? Was it a 5-stroke roll with his feet? Or, you know, I mean, I'm so tired of listening to that kind of stuff. You know, it's like, no, I want to hear music.
Yeah. And, you know, when the bass player came along, I remember they had another guy for a little while. And then Jorgen comes along. And I remember watching a video with him on it. And I was like, man, not sure about this guy. And then the more I watched him, like, you know, this guy's pretty good. And then the next year or two goes by and he's really starting to gel. Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, now this, you know, this record, the bass lines on this record are freaking phenomenal. You know, I'll talk about that at the end of the
Oh my God. There was one of the songs I was listening to, and he was like doing a counter scale to what the melody was doing, and it was perfect, man. It was just like, and it also matched what the rhythm was going.
Well, there's another song on here later on in the record. I can't remember what it is. Probably After the Storm or something, where he plays this one thing where it's just a doo 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 doo. And if you try to do that for as long as he's doing it on that, man, your hand starts cramping, you know, because I used to hate rhythms like that because it's like, man, can we just make this one like a 4-minute song, 3 maybe?
Here are my notes on this album.
Yeah.
That's as far as I got. I was gonna review each song, and I decided
damn good LP. Well, I've got some notes, man. I always have notes. You know me, man.
I was like, there's nowhere to. The only thing I can say is right on.
Yeah. So we can go ahead and roll down a few of them, the whole songs, all the songs.
Yeah.
So first one we get is Same as It Ever Was. You know, first thing I saw the record, I was like, man, is this a Talking Heads redo?
Yeah, burning down the house.
You know, but you know, I don't even think it was called Same as It Ever Was. But the first thing I thought of was Talking Heads, and then later on in the end of the song, I kind of think he threw a nod in there, if you listen, because it kind of reminded me of what David Byrne did.
Right.
Heads. I was like, man, he threw that in there. You know,
well, if you listen to the end of the song, they'd already ended, and he's walking away from the mic. You hear this same as it ever was.
Yeah,
same as it ever was.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I think that was the nod to him. So
yeah, it was cool. You know,
starts out cool. It's got the mellow guitar vocal thing, you know, typical Warren Haynes, and then he comes in with his standard Gov't Mule rhythm. Then the band comes in, and man, it's classic Gov't Mule, man. And then it all comes in, and this bass line is just all over the place, right? It's like, wow, this guy is just killing it, man. I mean, it was ridiculous. Then you get to the breakdown, and you got the classic drum fills, right? Matt's doing you know, typical Gov't Mule, and then you get to the solo, and you have the great organ solo, right? Then you get Warren coming in with a, you know, and it's like, oh, here it goes. And then Warren rips it, right? And then that ain't it. You get a bass solo. I'm like, first song. I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah.
You know? So I was tempted to turn it off because I'm like, if that's the first song, man, I don't know if I want to keep going.
Right. Yeah.
Let's just stop there, man. You did it all right here on the line.
There's a lot of music on this album, and God, I got to tell you, you know, I mean, it was a long album, and I've listened to other long albums, and I've had to take a break and walk away and come back and pick up where I left off. This album, I never had to do that. It just did not. It did not get repetitious. It did not get boring, and it just flows right along, man. You know, I mean,
I had a couple times where I thought there was a lot of similarities going on, and it got a little boring for me. We'll talk about that later when we get to the second half of the CD. The first half of the CD, though, just blows it right out of the box, man. It was just crazy. You know.
Well, one thing I was going to do, I was going to write down the tracks, but then, okay, so where I was at with this one site, I think they were giving me the LP lineup, because then I pulled up another version on a streaming side of things, and that one had a couple of tracks reversed from what was going on the order on the album. I'm like, well, I ain't even writing the order down. I'm just forget
the first one on here is Same as It Ever Was.
Right. Yeah.
And then we get to number 2, which is Shake Our Way Out, which features Billy Gibbons.
Killer tune. I love the tune.
and that's what I got. Another classic Gov't Mule riff.
Right.
And then you add Billy Gibbons in, right? Yeah. And it's like, you know, how can you go wrong with that?
Right now, all you were lacking though was Jeff Beck going down, you know.
Right. Yeah. And you know,
I mean, I'm serious.
Because I do have in the side over here, I got it's a rocking riff with that steady thumping bass, right? You know, the do you know, which is just rolling through your head the whole time while Billy and Warren are just riffing. Right. And you know, I always have a problem with 2 guitar player records sometimes when you can't distinguish the difference between who's playing what. Right. And on this song, you can tell when Warren's playing, you can tell when Billy's playing. I mean, and probably because we've been used to their styles for so long that we could close our eyes and point and tell you, yeah, that's Billy.
Yep,
you know, at this
exactly.
point,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But you could clearly, distinctly tell the difference between who was playing what. And then, of course, you throw in Billy Gibbons, you know, talking, singing that he does, you know, throws them in after the verse, you know, he'll throw in a little,
Yep,
you
yep,
know.
yep. Well, it was a good ZZ feel to it. And
Yep.
I got to tell you what, the drum sound and playing was phenomenal. I
Yeah.
loved, oh my God, his bass and snare sound, his bass drum sound and snare sound is phenomenal. The
I
last time
had I had one issue with his drum sound, just one. And I thought the bell was so loud when he was hitting that bell, man, on his cymbal. It
I
was
didn't have,
it was
I didn't,
killing me, man. I did it at home and on the car. I'm like, dang, I thought it was the car at first. And I'm like, well,
yeah,
let me try it at the house. And it wasn't as bad at home, but you could, that bell just seemed like for some reason that mic was just too close to the bell. So
it, I don't know. It didn't bother me here at home. It was, I noticed that it was really enunciated. You know, I
yeah,
mean, you could really understand what he was doing
yeah,
on the bell. And it's definitely, definitely a good rudimental practice that he was working on. I mean, between his right hand on the bell and his left hand on the snare, and that's
yeah.
what you're getting, you know. And the bass drum and snare just really stuck out to me. I mean, the sound of both of those drums was just like, oh my God.
And his pocket groove, man, is unbelievable, man.
Yeah, it is.
So
It is.
it's one of those guys where you know when you're just gonna you don't have to do much as a bass player because
Right.
he's got it right there. You know, you can pretty much play around with it, and that's what I think Jorgen was doing is he has room to play because he's got such a steady pocket behind him. You know,
Right.
so love that song though. First two songs were top of the line. Then we get to number 3, Made My Peace. And it had that weird effect on the vocals when he would do after the years on the run, after years on the run, it's like after my years on. I was like, what
Yeah,
is
but
that? But
it didn't last the whole song though. I
no.
mean,
And in the
it
middle of it got this real Beatles sounding thing going, kind of like in what was it, Year in the Life type thing going on. But
yeah.
to me, this one here, at the end, I kind of got a little annoyed with how many times he said "when you fall." He kept going "when you fall, when you fall," and I
Right,
was like,
right.
and then I thought he was going to end it, and then he comes back with another chorus. And this is where I say sometimes I think the album's a little too long. He could have probably cut a minute off of that song, and it would have been fine, right? I mean, save it for live, right? But
Mm-hmm.
this song reminded me a lot of a Pink Floyd sounding song, and I feel like there's a couple on here because they're doing their Pink Floyd stuff. I feel like he's got that going on with him. He's putting it in some of his songs now. So for some reason, to me, this one reminded me of a Pink Floyd type song. Not
Well,
totally
yeah.
like them, but you had the Gilmore guitar sound going on. You had that groove. You had a little weird vocal thing like Roger Waters likes to do. So it just felt like this was very inspired by Pink Floyd and what they're doing
Yeah,
with the Dark Side of the Mule.
I'll buy that. I'll buy that. Um,
I'm not saying by any
you know,
means it sounds like Pink Floyd. I'm just saying it definitely wasn't
right.
inspired
Well,
by
I
them.
I hear tons of influences across every song that they do on here. And like, okay, I'm gonna back it up to Shake Our Way Out.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that I wanted to say about it, and we already talked about how killer the bass is. The bass line was killer in this song, especially when he was doubling what the guitar medley was doing, the
Yeah.
melody was doing, I mean,
Yep.
and that was a signature ZZ Top thing that they
Yep.
did right
Yep.
there. Dusty and Billy would do that stuff. And I remember seeing ZZ Top. God, I can't remember if it was Bush or Colt they opened up for, or anyway, whoever it was. All I know is when they walked down on stage, they had the steers on each side of the stage and all this
Yeah.
shit. But when they were playing, Billy and Dusty were syncopating licks between the two of them. Dusty would do doot, and Billy's like doot 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 doot, and
Right.
it's just
Yeah.
back and forth across the stage. It's like, oh my God. And Frank Beard's back there God bless his soul, he's back there holding the pocket together while
Yeah.
they're up there screwing around.
Their thing, yeah. Yeah, and then they'll shake their way out, when they do that little doo 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 doo.
Right.
That's definitely something you would have heard in like cheap sunglasses or something
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
but I just loved the way that they did it though, but they did it with their own little personality behind it. I mean, it lets you know, hey, this is ZZ did this, but this is how we're going to do it.
That's right.
and it was killer sounding.
Yeah.
But like you were saying with Peace I Need, we
haven't gotten to that one yet, but yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's the next one,
yeah. But the one we're talking about, the piece we're talking
about, made my peace. Yeah,
right.
Made there's a bunch of peace songs on.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying. The tracks were messed up. That's why I just wrote great LP. I mean, because I knew we'd be on two different pages on that. But
yeah, that's okay.
But the thing is I don't know. I tried hard to find things to pick this album apart, and I can't do it.
Yeah, I don't really try to pick things out as far as like I'm gonna pick this one to death, because I mean I know what I'm getting when I get a Gov't Mule record, right?
Right.
It's how much can they restrain themselves in the studio, because they're a live band for sure, right? And that's that's where they specialize. So
you know what I put on after listening to this? Allman Brothers live at the Fillmore.
Yeah, I hear you.
I'm serious. I mean, it's goes without saying,
Yeah,
I mean,
and the first 3 songs so far, I haven't even really felt an Allman feel yet, right? You're not really. You're still doing the Warren Haynes Gov't Mule thing,
right.
Then when we get to number 4 here, Peace I Need, which I'm glad you brought it up, because this one, man, has got one of the best grooves on the record.
Oh my God!
I mean, when they come in, they got this great riff, and then that drum and that bass is just freaking unbelievable, man.
It's a wall of sound just between bass and drums. And I mean, you can't go wrong. I mean,
and then they do this breakdown, and then they go into this, the riff again, and it's like such dynamics. But there's one thing about this song that I wish the drummer would have done, because they always got to that one part where they were resolving the chorus or the verse, and they were getting ready to go into the chorus, and there was a break. And just one time, I wanted Matt to go, right before they went into the In This Land of Illusion. I just wanted one time to go, in this land of illusion.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I was like, just give it to me one time. He never did. But live, I bet you he will.
Yeah.
But that's the only knock on that song, which is stupid, because it's not even a knock, right? It's just like, man, I just wish he would have threw that in there that one time.
It's just a little personal preference there. I mean, it's, like I say, I'm going to say it again. I heard so many similarities of so many different songs. I mean, I heard When the Levee Breaks, drum sound wise, I mean, but the thing is, he turned it into his own thing. He didn't ride that ridge, and that's what music's about. I've been hearing here lately how people are getting sued again for sounding like your shit sounds like my shit. And it's like, so what? It's been done before anyway. So go home and cry on your pillow while you're going to the bank. I mean, who cares?
I actually threw all that out the door. And I've said this before, when John Fogerty got sued for writing a song that sounded like his own song.
Right.
So it's like, come on. I just like, whatever. I don't even care, because John Fogerty wrote both songs. You don't think they're going to sound similar? I mean, seriously, whatever. I mean, let it's music, man. Everybody's done it. We're just recreating it. That's all.
All we're doing is putting our own spin on anything, and everything has been done before. I mean, Mozart and Bach and everybody did all this stuff way before we even got to it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you want to claim it?
Yeah.
Go ahead and say, yeah, well, I'd put my own spin on it, but don't say it's yours.
Ain't nobody suing anybody for using the same melody on the ABCs as they do in Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, right? I mean, it's the same song, which I believe was probably Beethoven. I don't know. Anyway, so Peace I Need, great song, great groove. I mean, that freaking drum groove is just unbelievable. Then we get to number 5. which is Your Only Friend. And this is definitely about an addict. How many times have I dropped you off drunk, 3 sheets to the wind, all that stuff.
Yeah.
He this is something personal for sure. He's talking to somebody on this song. I don't know who it is, but he's talking to somebody about, look, man, I've opened many doors for you and you've blown it because all you want to do is whatever it is you're doing, drinking, drugs, whatever.
Right.
But it was real mellow, kind of a sad song. It had a really nice guitar solo in it. I had a little issue with the string section because it sounds so programmed. I mean, it was like, I don't know, it was like a cheesy keyboard programmed string section. I just didn't care for that part. I mean, I think they could have done a better job of putting a real string section in there.
Yeah.
And if it is a real string section, it was a crummy recording. Right?
Well,
But I don't think it was. I think it was all programmed. So
I'm going to say this about songs like that one. These songs need to be heard. They really do.
yeah.
The Black Crowes had She Talks to Angels.
Yeah.
And oh my God, I mean, the only thing we can do, and I'm hoping that I'm getting the message that was meant, is to just be there.
Yeah.
You're not going to stop it.
Yeah.
Well,
this not one here, I believe this was like, look, man, I've done all I can. If you don't help yourself, then can't help you anymore.
Right.
So I think other people need to get the message when they listen to this one, because he sounds like he's done a lot for years.
Yeah, but you know yourself. I mean, even at that,
yeah,
you don't just shut the door. I mean, it doesn't just happen that way. And I mean, it's that's the power of music.
Yeah.
That's all about. That's what music's all about, is putting that message, putting out messages. And it's, I don't know.
So after you get all sad and all that on this addict song.
That's right. Yeah, I'm sorry.
So what does Warren do? He goes out and gets Ivan Neville from Dumpster Funk and says, let's funk it up.
That's right. That's right.
So then we come up with Dreaming Out Loud, man. And you're talking about a freaking groove, right?
Yeah.
What a crazy groove that is. It's like, man, I mean, it is definitely heavy funk. Reminds me a lot of something you would get from Sly, or even Parliament, some P-Funk up in here,
Oh yeah.
And then you throw Ivan Neville in there from Dumpster Funk. So it's like, and then you got Ruthie Foster on there, who is a blues gospel folk singer, right?
Yep.
So I mean, it is just crazy, right? And the brass section was real. He's got all different kinds of people playing on here.
Yep.
And and I talk about how long this album is, and how long some of the songs. This is one of the ones they should have let go longer, because at the end, man, they're just tearing it up on the horns and everybody's just getting it, and then it starts to fade out. I'm like, no, not yet. Not this one. Let this one go. This one needs to last longer. You could have took a minute off of something else. Leave this one, But great song, dude. Dreaming Out Loud, man.
Yeah. As a sidetrack now, I'm gonna ask, have you heard Mono Neon, the bass player? All right. If you want to hear some good rhythm tracks, go to the Zildjian Cymbal website.
Yeah.
They have all these players coming in, all these drummers coming in, and they got this house band. And this guy, his name is Mono Neon, plays bass, strong right-handed, plays it left-handed.
Mm-hmm.
And he's always got a long sock hanging off the headstock.
It's probably,
and I'm telling you, I think that's what it's for, is just to stop the resin under the neck,
Right. Yeah.
But it just looks funky.
Yeah. That's cool. It's his thing, man.
Yeah. It's his
and plus you dry your socks while you're playing.
But the thing is, oh my God, man, the guy is like, he's just phenomenal. Anyway, so much for the sidetrack.
Yeah.
Just put that in the back of your mind.
Yeah, I'll go check that out.
I just had to put that out there.
Right. So that was the first half of the CD. And then we get to number 7 and 8 too. I mean, these two here, I just we'll go with 7 first. Head Full of Thunder. I just thought it was a typical song. I mean, it probably could have left this one off, in my opinion. It started out, it reminded me of Green Eyed Lady, right? It just sounded like Green Eyed Lady, and then it went to a familiar, really sounding thing, and it had an Aerosmith feel to it, almost like same old song and dance a little bit, and I was like, I mean, I didn't really feel this one. I felt like this could have reduced the time of the album down by leaving this one off. But I guess, it's still a good song. Don't get me wrong. It's just I didn't care for it myself. So,
It's a jam band.
yeah.
They left
This
the
is
tape
just
machine. They left it. I say tape machine. I'm talking old school shit here.
yeah.
But
It's
they left the record button on
yeah.
and decided, oh well, we can work something out of this, and they kept going. I just
Yeah.
think that's what happened. I just think it just kind of fell into place.
I guess. Then we get to number 8. And this is The River Only Flows One Way, where it's featuring Billy Bob Thornton. And I mean, it's a
I had a
reggae
hard time.
song, I didn't really dig it much, but I liked it for like 30 seconds, and then it just didn't change. The whole song was just that, right?
The only thing I had against it is when I first heard it, I thought, what is Billy Gibbons? Is he doing another monologue or something?
Right.
But then it was Billy Bob Thornton.
Yeah.
But I got to say, on my third or fourth listen, it started. It really did. It started to meld into what I mean, it just kind of fell into place.
Yeah. And I mean, it's
It
got
took
a very strong bass line, but
it took some getting used to. Is
yeah.
what
I mean, the song went on for like 9 freaking minutes, right? Was it 8 minutes? Over 7 minutes. And it's like,
Well,
man,
it's the theme of the album.
yeah, I suppose. Probably should have read the words a little harder on that one, but those two songs right there, they just lost me there, And
Yeah.
then thank goodness they came back with After the Storm, right? It's got a nice pace on it,
Yep.
and it had a good vocal and organ call and response, which I really dug because I like that. He's singing, the little organ goes on, and he's singing. The organ reminded me a lot of the Allman song, right?
Mm-hmm.
The organ was ridiculous in this song. Great organ.
You can't beat a Hammond B3.
And it reminded me a little bit of a Doors type song, right? Because I mean, it was very heavy organ, like Ray Manzarek would be. It didn't have the Jim Morrison vocal, but it reminded me of something the Doors would have done. It was a great song though. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Because he brought me back, right? And then we get to 10, and this part of the record really to me felt like Allman Brothers. I started to feel the Allman side of Warren Haynes when we get to 10 and 11, right? So
Yep.
10 is just across the river. And he had a lady named Celeste Henderson, who is a great guitar blues singer and fantastic on this, man. I mean, her vocal work was freaking off the chain. It was fantastic. Nice, mellow, bluesy. Loved everything about this song. And this is Warren's one of his niches, man, where he can just get into these songs and just rip it apart. And live, this thing would be unbelievable. I mean, it would be a 30-minute song, right? Because Warren would just keep going, man, and then Matt would have to say, hey, man, slow it. We got to get out of here and do another song, right? So. And then number 11, you get to Long Time Coming, which again, it was not really much going on here, but I felt a little bit of the Almonds again on this one. Decent song, but nothing real special. And then the last song, number 12, is Gone Too Long. And this is a typical Gov't Mule, the way it starts, his vocal lines. And this one's actually dedicated to David Crosby on the record.
Oh,
so
cool.
It's a great slide work on it, which brings me back to the Almonds part of it again. And I mean, another good song, pretty long one again. I'll tell you, all the songs on this album are long. The shortest song on here is probably 5 minutes. I don't know.
Well, number one, people need to remember, okay,
5 minutes
what
probably.
what we're talking about, jam bands. Okay, everybody wants to turn around and look at the Grateful Dead.
Yeah.
They are probably one of the most recognized jam bands around. But here's the point. You got jam bands that stand around up there while they're high on their Colt 45 and whatever, and try to hold their instruments, and talk about trucking. But then you got jam bands that are like Allman
You think
Brothers.
it's Colt 45 that they're hugging
Well,
on
I
to?
mean, we could go down the other road too, but
If they're at a
but
Grateful Dead concert, they don't
uh,
even know they're at the Grateful Dead.
yeah, right. Well, I mean, they were known for throwing out handfuls of LSD at concerts for a
That's
while.
that's more what I was thinking.
Yeah, but no, then you got jam bands like the Allman Brothers, Gov't Mule. I mean, there are bands out there that are legitimate jam bands that actually understand what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, now I'm not saying the Grateful Dead didn't understand what they were
Right.
doing,
Yeah, I know. They're
but
just
it
a
just
different type.
it just never went down.
Yeah.
I just never went down that road.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
as far as I don't know, total confusion. I don't. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what else to put on it. But no, these guys have a formula and they work on it and they just elongate it. And that's
Right.
all they do. And I love it. I
Well,
love it to the max.
this one for me, my bads on this is I just thought it was way too long. I mean, it's an hour and 18 minutes, something like that, I believe.
I had a lot to say.
There was
COVID,
there's a lot of peace out there, right?
a lot in the can.
There were times when I felt like we were hearing the same song again later, especially the second half of the CD. The second half of the CD, I didn't really care as much for. There was 3 good songs on there, but the other 3 just didn't really catch me, man.
Well, there was a 12-bar blues tune that kind of, I don't know. I felt like it could have left it off.
Yeah.
Because it just seemed to roll around every 6 measures, and
Yeah.
it was
Wasn't
like
really doing much, right?
right. It didn't
It's kind of
really
like a river keeps flowing around.
right. Yeah. I mean, it just didn't do a whole lot for me, but it wasn't one of those things where I want to reach over and turn it off. I
Yeah.
mean, it just
I mean, not
I'm
like
okay.
the first 6 songs, dude. I mean, he could have probably just put out the first 6 songs. It would have still been an hour, probably,
Yeah.
and it would have been a 10. It would have knocked
Yep.
it out of the park.
Yep.
There's a couple again on the backside that I like, but most of the ones on the last half of it, man, I just thought were just okay. I mean, and by saying okay, that's like saying, your Cadillac, needs a little extra shock in it, right? I mean, it's still a great
Yep.
a great song, right? It's just,
Yep.
when you've gotten through the first 6 and then you get to these other ones, to me, there's a couple places I thought were a little slightly boring and maybe repetitive even. But and then the only problem I had with any of the sound, of course, I talked about it earlier, was the bell on the cymbal seemed like it was super loud for some reason. But probably just me. But the production was fantastic. The mix, the tones. I mean, Warren Haynes is just always gets a great tone. He's always got that Fat Gibson sound, and man, he just really can play. And of course, Matt and the guy on organ, what was his name again? I'm sorry, Danny. I mean,
Yep.
freaking unbelievable organ work, right? And Matt's fantastic. And to me, the best. I mean, I was just very impressed with the bass player. I was so happy
I was too.
to hear his bass lines on this because when he first joined the band, you could see it was a little stiff, and he was trying to figure things out. And I think he's got it now for sure.
Yeah. Well, one thing
I know he's
that
been with them 15 years now. So
yeah. Well, the biggest thing I got to say about the whole situation is there wasn't one instrument in any of the music that I listened to that was muddled or buried or anything else.
no,
If you wanted to hear that bass line, that's all you had to do is sit there and listen for it, and there it is.
yeah,
I mean, it was all crystal clear, and
absolutely.
and the mixing and production of this album, to me, is out of this world.
Yeah, and it was produced with, you know, Warren Haynes and John Paterno, which didn't we just do something with John Paterno produced
The
not
name's
long ago?
familiar, but I don't know. Paterno, I'm trying to think that I always want to relate that name to a horn section somehow, you know.
I just I thought for sure that we just did one that he did. So
Yeah.
I mean, anyway, it was a great production, great tones, bass phenomenal. You know, it was a little long for me. I would have loved it better live. I think live, this is going to be some great stuff they're going to put out. Great riffs. I don't know. I'm kind of, you know, I'm such a big Warren Haynes fan. You know, I just ranking this one is tough for me because there was some stuff I really didn't care for, even though it was still great, right? Because it's Warren Haynes, man. I
Well,
mean,
I'm gonna tell you the biggest thing that I didn't miss on this album. And don't get me wrong, I love Derek Trucks.
mhm.
I didn't miss the bark and slide work.
Yeah, it wasn't
No,
always.
yeah. I mean, I'm sorry, but you know, Derek Trucks might have mastered doing slide work, but
Yeah,
to me, it's almost offensive the way he does it.
yeah,
It needs to be brought back down to basics.
yeah,
And I mean that barking type of slide work that he does, I get turned off by it.
yeah.
It's just way too overbearing.
Right. So for me, and I agree with you too, because that was one of the things that I had a hard time with the latter Allman Brothers is that there was it seemed like a competition of how much slide can Derek put in there, right?
Right, right.
I
You
mean,
know,
it's
I mean
like, you know,
that's why I dropped back to live at the Fillmore East. You know, I mean, and Eat
and
a Peach. I mean, to me,
even
that's the epitome of the Allman Brothers.
and even some of the Tedeschi truck stuff is I like the stuff that Tedeschi's doing, right? I
Right,
you know, because I always liked Susan Tedeschi before she even became part of the Tedeschi trucks thing.
right, right.
Because she was perfect on her own, you know. And I'm not knocking Derek. The guy can play, no doubt
He
about it.
can. I'm not knocking him either.
Yeah. But I know what you mean though, because if you overpower all this stuff going on with his slide work, it takes away from what else is happening, right?
yeah.
So because
Well,
he
it's the old adage of a lot of times what you don't play matters more than what you do play.
exactly let some spaces in there, right? You
Yeah.
know, you don't have to fill in every gap, you know. So
Um,
but
yeah.
for this one, I'm gonna go with an 8-7, man. I mean, there's some stuff I don't care for, but even the stuff I don't care for is better than half the stuff out there, right? I mean, honestly, it really is. And these guys are so pros, man, at what they're doing. And I was impressed. It was super long, but I was really impressed. So 8-7 for me, you know, that's Warren Haynes, man. You
Well,
know,
I'm gonna go with a 9 on it, and I'm also add in a tag here of don't fall for the Beyonce concert because there's no way in hell she can sing and move around dancing at the same time without
what?
sounding like she's out of breath.
No
So,
way.
you know, quit wasting your fucking money. Just go buy the album if you want to listen to Beyonce.
Yeah, because I mean, what you're getting on this is real music.
Yeah, this is real music.
And
This
live,
is it.
it's going to be even better.
You're not going to see him standing up there bouncing all over the stage with a guitar strapped around his neck and
No,
a headphone mic. That
no,
ain't going to happen.
no. What
The
you're
only
getting is,
person I know that can get away with that is Pink,
yeah.
and I got to give her a double thumbs up because she can do it.
Yeah.
I didn't believe it, but she can do it. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and here you're going to get a lesson every time you go see Warren Haynes. He's going to
Yep.
take you to school, you know, the whole
Yep.
band is. So anyway, you know, I guess we'll wrap it up. It was a great record though, man. I'm kind of excited that it finally came out. I've been waiting for some Gov't Mule. I've been wanting to put them on the channel, you know,
I think they're getting ready to do another one too. Honestly,
probably,
from what I've read, it seemed like there was a lot of open-ended statements there that they didn't shut it off. You know, what
right.
I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, they had a lot of time to do it. So, all right. Well, we'll let it go there. I gave it an 8-7. I gave it a 9-0.
I gave it a 9.
We got Gov't Mule, Peace Like a River.
That's right.
Where did it go? Hold on a second. I'll give it to you. Peace Like a River.
Mm-hmm.
Peace. Lego River.
There you go. Peace.
Anyway, so yep. Until next time, I'll stay safe.
That's right. And peace out and listen to the music.
He got to throw peace in there.